Good afternoon, everybody. This is Omar Serrano for the Tilted Lawyer Podcast. I'm joined by my longtime running mate. I needed enforcements for this Blake Lively stuff. Ileana Colon Rosa, super lawyer out of the Inland Empire, Riverside. She's one of like the up-and-comers, top, the top young attorneys in the United States of America. Public, super. I don't know. I never got that shit. You gotta do some things to get there. But she's super bright, and she's here to help us out to decipher this timeline. This is part 3 of going through Justin Baldoni's timeline. So Ileana, I know that you're somewhat familiar with this case. You don't have to be completely familiar with it because what I've been doing the last couple of shows on this case is going through the evidence and just evaluating in real time the way that I would if I was representing one of these parties. And so what I've gathered is, there's lawsuits flying back and forth. Lively has accused Baldoni of sexual harassment, condoning a sexually harassing work environment, unprofessional work environment. We've gone through about 38 pages of this timeline and determined that it's roughly bullshit. And the problem with that is, like, she's saying things and she's making these accusations, and then it comes to pass through the evidence that she had mentioned fat shaming in her original complaint. Her version of fat shaming was Justin Baldoni had recommended a personal trainer, this holistic physical trainer that specializes in weight loss, and try to get them to hook up and do weight loss stuff. And she said that was a conspiracy, a ruse to fat shame her. That was what she meant by that. Mm-hmm. And so when you're going to make those sensationalistic accusations that are based on something that a reasonable person would not think was fat shaming, then you lose credibility. And so she's lost a great deal of credibility. We're content. What's up, Bruce? Bruce is in the comments. What's up, Sarah Dawn? Excuse me. You're gonna have to deal with my voice. I can't help it. I'm fighting through. It's not going away. The only way it's gonna go away is if I could just shut up for like a full week. Impossible. So we're continuing on, and we're on this document. We stopped at page 38. Now I've been told it gets a lot crazier the further that you get in. So where we're at is, we went through this timeline. At first, Justin and Blake were all buddy, and they're like sharing stories and they're texting back and forth. And then it got to a point at some point where Blake Lively started making all of these crazy demands. It didn't start as demands. It started as suggestions like, hey, maybe we should tweak the script here and there. And then Justin being, oh, that's a great idea. Your ideas are tremendous. I think we should listen to you. And, and then it went into, we should adjust the wardrobe. I think that my character would wear these $5,000 shoes, and causing the entire production to go way over budgets. And so now the production studios are starting to take notes like, hey, this is starting to get a bit much with Blake. She's basically trying to take over the movie. That's where we left off on page 39. Oh, there was an incident where one of the characters or main players in this lawsuit showed Blake a picture or like a 1 second of a video of the afterbirth of him and his wife, basically sitting in the tub holding a baby. She described that as pornography in her lawsuit. And we looked at a still shot of it. It's like, it's literally just him and his wife sitting there in the tub. You can't really see anything. If you're not into that thing, it's kind of weird, I guess. You're sitting in the afterbirth of a child, but for her to describe it as porn was a bit much. So we're at June 14th of 2023, due to the ongoing WGA picketing. There's strikes going on, the writer's strike and all of that. The Wayfarer makes the decision to shut down production until the strike resolves. On June 15th of 2023, I should share my screen, shouldn't I? I told you I was going to do that.
Yes, I was going to.
Here we go. So, right. Production was temporarily halted on June 14th. The next day, June 15th, production was notified that the WGA had agreed not to picket their set, allowing filming to continue. Production attempted to reach out to Lively to stay until the 23rd as originally planned, but she had already made arrangements to join her husband in London and refused to return. In other words, it's starting to become this growing theme that Blake bends to the will of no man. She does what she wants, You give her orders. There was contracts that were drafted that outlined certain things, nudity writers and such, coordinated sex scenes that were supposed. Now you watched the movie. I haven't watched the movie. I heard that the sex scene in the movie was like basically nothing. It was like a PG-13 bullshit, whatever. It was nothing to write home.
The movie's pretty bad, but yeah.
Bad as in good or bad as in hey. It's like a 2 out of 10.
I will say like maybe a 2 out of 10 type of thing. It's just that I don't know. I read the book. I was expecting something, I guess, different, and the movie to me, it just didn't live up to the hype. So
how far off the script? Now you read the book. I have yet to meet anyone who's read the book. Now that I'm talking to you, how far off pitch was the movie from the novel?
it wasn't too far. It's just that I don't know. To me, like the characters, or I guess the actors, did not fit into the characters in the book. And I in the book you read it and you feel certain like emotions or way towards the characters or what's going on. And when you watch the movie, that's not there. Like I don't feel the connection between the characters. I don't feel like they actually embodied the description in the book. And then they just, of course, it's a book. You cannot fit the entire book into a movie. You have to select like specific instances, and it just felt like chopped. Like it was like this scene, and then it would jump to the next scene, and there was like no flow. I don't know. At least that was.
I mean, I haven't watched the movie. That could have been production decisions. It could have been Blake Lively disrupting things because she wanted to make things a little different. But let me ask you this question: if you were to cast the main character that Lively played, would you have casted her or somebody different, like say a Jenna Ortega or some other young actress that more aptly fits the bill of young, unsuspecting female lead character embarking on a burgeoning love that's disappointed at the way it turns out because of events that take place?
I was surprised when I heard that Blake Lively was the one chosen for that role, because she didn't look, even with the red hair, how the book described her.
Red hair, huh?
Yeah, I thought they were gonna choose, I don't know, somebody younger, because in the book she's a lot younger, and maybe an actress that was not like well known, like maybe that was up and coming. And then same thing with Justin. Like to me, he didn't fit at all. He's older than the character in the book. Physically, he doesn't meet, from what I remember,
Description?
the description in the book. And I don't know. And to me, Blake and Justin, like even before all this came out, they don't make a good couple. They don't fit. They don't. I don't know. Maybe it's because I've seen each one of them in different, I guess, series or movies, and I don't know. And
lacks chemistry.
I don't. It's just that I had hopes that maybe it was gonna be still good, just because I like the book, but no.
Well, I have yet to watch it. I'm not sure if I'm going to watch it. Maybe this weekend. I don't know.
If you haven't read the book, I don't think you're gonna enjoy it at all.
I can tell you right now, I'm not going to enjoy it. I'm only doing it as a work of like pure investigative journalism.
Yeah, the 2 out of 10 is just because I guess it matches a little bit the book. That's about it. But
it somewhat resembles the original novel framework of the story. All right, so June 15th, Lively is not cooperating with the set. There's emails confirming that. On June 16th, Wayfair undertook a significant, costly effort to rework the shooting schedule, prioritize scenes featuring younger versions of the character who had not shot any scenes thus far over those requiring Lively. This was no small task, as it involved relocating to different locations, securing revised shooting permits on short notice, and coordinating adjustments of travel plans, accommodations, cast and crew. Logistical challenges were immense, but the team works tirelessly to maintain the film's momentum and ensure a smooth transition. About a week later, Alex Newstater, young Atlas, participated in an Onset electronics press kit interview designed for the film's promotional campaign. Below are the questions and the producer's responses, highlighting the experiences on set and his thoughts on working with Baldoni. To that degree, he says, I love his energy, man. He brings so much passion. He cares so much about it. You can't help but feed off of that. And even though all the turbulence of these scenes that we're doing, it's just that energy and that passion that's really driving everything. And also, he's very creative. Nothing but good things to say, right? So that same day, Isabella Ferrer, who was young Lily, participates in an on-set EPK interview designed for use in the film's promotional campaign. They ask her the following questions. What is the most rewarding part of being on It Ends With Us set? At least for me, this is one of the very first projects. I think working with professionals that have been doing this for a really long time, but also who are open. The crew and Justin, all the actors that I've worked with have just been so open and welcoming. I've never felt belittled in any sort of way. I just think being able to come into set and feeling seen and heard and feeling immediately comfortable and being able to just go in and do what I do and not having any anxieties or worries about how I might be, or I just feel very accepted, I think. Now, if your client, Eliana, is facing charges of promoting an unsavory workplace and you get a comment like that from an Isabella Ferrer and the other guy that we had just mentioned, what does that do to damage those allegations?
Well, you haven't watched the movie, but these are kids.
You're right. Well, how old are they, would you say?
Maybe 10.
Hmm.
And if this was their first project, it was probably kind of scripted by the
Well, I mean,
parents.
but
I
you're
mean,
right. It's
I wouldn't
candor.
give weight to them. And at the same time, I don't think that them having that experience, good,
Yeah,
necessarily negates what she's claiming,
you're right.
because I don't think they would have been allowed in those scenes that I believe Blake was alleging that it was uncomfortable or like the sexual
Sure.
conduct allegations. But these are from what I remember, and I remember it because something that I found very interesting is that the actress that for the young version of Blake that they chose was a really good casting. She looked so much like her, and I was like, wow, like it was really, really shocking to see how much she resembled Blake. But I mean, I don't remember their ages, but they couldn't be more than like 13 years old or something like that. Or if they are, they look a lot younger.
So the point being basically that just because they're saying good things about Baldoni doesn't negate Lively's claims against him, which I would agree with.
Hmm.
The sexually harassing behavior would have occurred during the sex scenes, which they would not have been present, but there were other people present,
Hmm.
I guess. I mean, we read through like 38 pages of that stuff. And from what I saw, you got to assume that all this stuff would have been on film somewhere, recorded somewhere. I talked about that on part 2. I don't want to spend too much time on that, but you're right. It doesn't by itself negate that. But this attorney has included it, I'm assuming,
Of
to
course.
give the public the impression that, no, it wasn't Baldoni who was the problem. Everybody loved Baldoni. Look at these actors, have nothing but good things to say about him. Look at her. How's it been working with Justin? Oh my God, so good. He's been so generous with advice, just overall in the entire process. She give this rambling response, and so they're trying to make it seem as if Lively is the problem. That's what they're
Mhm.
attempting to do. But you're right. Context matters, and those statements by itself don't do anything other than suggest that they had good experience with Justin, but they were not everybody. So, important note: Isabel and Alex shared these sentiments regarding their working experience with Baldoni prior to spending time with Lively during the promotional tour of the film.
I guess they didn't
Interesting.
spend time together in the same set with Lively and Dustin.
Yeah, I wonder if that skewed their opinions at all. So Brandon Sklenar participated in an on-set EPK interview designed for use in film's promotional campaign. Now, these promotional campaign interviews, honestly, are not worth a whole lot to me.
No.
They're not speaking candidly. They're saying these canned responses that they think they should be saying.
Hmm.
Uh, well, how about this? Did you talk to Justin? Did Justin reach out to you to talk about the piece? He says, oh, yeah, no, he did. Yeah, and I'll get into, I'm just trying to string it together in my brain. He says, I had a phone call with Justin, our director, and over the course of the phone call, it became very clear to me that this was and what it meant to the people who have read this book, men and women alike, but largely women all over the world, and how much it's helped them. And then Justin's passion, they're saying nothing but good things, that kind of stuff. It goes on, and here's more of that. Excuse me. Not all cast members participated in the interview. So June 26th, Lively checks in from London to send well wishes and request access to select scenes that Baldoni had prepared. The two co-stars remain in open communication. Those were the text message. On June 27th, the final day of shooting phase 1, production will go on hiatus until the strike is over. This is a calendar. July 11th, Isabella Ferrer reaches out to Baldoni 2 weeks after production had wrapped to share her gratitude for the experience and kind words about Baldoni, and specifically thanking him for creating such a comfortable, safe space. And there's the text messages to prove it. Blake, again, on July 19th, reaches out to check in with Justin during the SAG strike to inquire about Baldoni's assembly cut and to request access to the dailies for a second time. Baldoni, feeling it was too early to share, promises to send her cuts as soon as he's ready. Lively reluctantly paid nominal lip service to the notion that Baldoni, the film's director, was entitled to the time and space needed for his directorial cut, but continued to push. And so, continuing on, there's that conversation. Fast forward about a month to August 25th. As promised, Baldoni reaches back out to Lively and shares with her his favorite scenes, expressing his excitement to show her more in person. When they resume production a day later, Lively disregards the note about the film and instead thanks him for the matcha machine. Happy birthday, Blake. Coincidentally, it's last day. I'm sending you over one of your favorite sections. And she says, thank you so much for the matcha machine. That was very thoughtful. He just says, enjoy. I don't know. Is that a weird way to respond? Like,
What?
How she just says, doesn't acknowledge him sending over favorite sections of whatever he's sending her? Is it like a passive aggressive thing? Like, I'm pissed at you for certain things, but thanks for the gift?
I don't know.
All right. Well, put a pin on that. October 17th, Lively's agent. It's just, I'm flagging it, is all. It's the communication's a little weird. October 17th, Lively's agent and manager reach out to Heath, requesting that Baldoni fly to New York to show Lively the assembly cut of the film. Heath responds that Baldoni is not available to travel at that time, but looks forward to showing her the rough cut when they resume production shortly. Here's the text messages going back and forth. For that, in anticipation of the SAG strike ending soon, Heath reaches out to Lively's rep to share her shooting schedule, which was set to resume in November. On November 9th, Heath reaches out to Lively's lawyer about getting aligned, informing her that production was on the ground in New Jersey and eager to get started. Here's the email. On November 9th, on the very day the strike ends, Baldoni, the studio, and the producers are eager to resume production. However, their plans were disrupted by an unexpected email from Lively's lawyer. The email contained a 17-point list of non-negotiable conditions that Lively demanded be met before her return to work. The list, both in tone and content, appeared to insinuate or outright allege that Baldoni, Heath, and others had engaged in sexually inappropriate conduct during filming. These claims were entirely unfounded and a deliberate attempt to insinuate improper conduct by Baldoni and Heath, forcing them to sign as is without objection if Lively was to resume filming. So this is where I think we start to get to breach of contract issues. A lot of people have made a big deal about the fact that Blake Lively never signed her contract. To which my retort was, that doesn't mean you can't enforce a contract. Just because parties don't sign in writing an agreement, if they start acting as if they have an agreement and abiding to certain terms, the court can find a contract and define its terms and enforce a breach if certain conditions are met. And in this case, now granted, they plan on making a movie. She was going to play a part. There were certain protocols in place. There was a lot of moving parts, a lot of things going on. She starts to make demands during the course of the production of this movie, during filming, before filming, during rehearsals and whatnot, wardrobe decisions, shooting locations, whatever. She's making demands, which in my mind, and tell me if you agree, constituted counter offers to what was previously understood. And every single time that the studio and or Justin would acquiesce to her counter proposals, that it represented basically a shifting of the terms of the contract. Would you agree with that, or am I off?
Contractually, yes, I think I would agree.
Yeah. So here, now, after the strike, we have our first indication that she has grievances. She's pissed. Not only with these 17 grievances have we established, there's definitely some kind of a contract.
Mhm.
We don't need signatures. There's a contract. She has 17 things that she wants to talk about. I'm going to try to read what these are. All right. So and I apologize, it's going to be really difficult to read. I might not be able to read it, honestly.
Yes, very.
I'll try with the resolution of the strike, we are writing to, there's no fucking way I can't read this shit. Could you? You want to take a crack at it?
Oh, I remember reading it.
Yeah.
But I can't read it from this document specifically.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Was this in her original pleadings, maybe?
It could
I'm not
be.
gonna do a question for it. You know what? Let's try it. I'm going to try my best. While we reserve the legal rights, all this client is willing to there's no way. Wonder. Okay. So here is her conditions, 17 conditions before she returns to production. She wants an intimacy coordinator, must be present at all times. They had already agreed to that. Like there was already discussions about that. There must be a closed set during the rehearsal or filming of any scene, stimulated sex, nudity. Yeah, I feel like I have seen this before as well. Anyway, there's 17.
Those were in her, or in her suit.
Right, her original complaint. That's where I remember. Anyway, so in your opinion, does this represent a breach of contract on her part, or does it represent something else?
I don't know. I haven't really analyzed it from that perspective.
Well, so they had an agreement. They had an understanding they're going to film a movie. She's going to play a part. They've agreed to the foundational tenements of a contract, conditions that they've already contemplated, and they were in the midst of production. And now she hits the studio and everybody with these demands. To me, this does not yet rise to the level of a breach. What this really is a proposal to amend the agreement that they were already operating under. So these demands by itself is not a breach. She is proposing certain things, or she's contemplating a breach and giving you notice that unless we do these things, I'm going to breach the contract. That's
yes.
What
I would agree. Yeah.
Okay. So on November 10th, Heath contacts Sony to gather their perspective on the 17-point list of return to work conditions, aiming to ensure that any feedback or concerns from their team were also addressed. You know how I would have handled that? I would have said, fuck it, don't come back. We're going to get somebody else. We're going to go find somebody that looks exactly like Blake Lively. I don't know. It's not worth it. We've lost too much money. And then I would probably sue her for breach. Anyway, or putting the studio in such a position after they bent over backwards to appease her many demands and said, if she don't like it, then fucking sue us then. But this is enough. This is enough. We got to draw the line somewhere. We're done with this. Let's see what they actually did. What would you have done? What would you have advised Sony to do in this situation?
If I had me being on Baldoni's team and I had absolutely nothing like to hide, or just say, like you said, just go ahead, sue me, I'll find somebody else.
Sue me, bitch. I'm ready. You want to play
the same time, I feel like, although I don't believe on Blake's Lively lawsuit, like all of the allegations, I do believe that there was some sort of something going on that he, I guess, was like, okay, I guess I'll go along with it, not get in trouble, because she can.
Well, yeah, there's like she was an influential person married to an influential person. She had more weight or gravitas than him. This is like a career-making endeavor on his part. But if it went poorly, then it might it might spell the end of his career.
Mhm.
That's what was at stake, and that's why he kept on going along and giving in to her demands. But at the same time, he's ended up here anyway, and so much worse. Accused of When you accuse any actor of sexual misconduct, I mean, you're basically threatening to cancel them if it goes the wrong way. And but for his amazing attorneys putting this all together, right now, I mean, they went on and did an interview with TMZ a couple days ago or yesterday, I think, and they basically said that Blake Lively is starting to gain the same reputation as Amber Heard because of this PR campaign that is alerting the public to her many bullying tactics, coercive tactics, and outright lies.
Mhm.
And so that's true. But yeah, the disparity in their positions in Hollywood 100% played a role. But that's when I think that the executives at Sony should have stepped in and enforced the original contract and sued her for a breach or threatened to sue her for a breach, wished her, well, sent her on her merry way. At that point, she hadn't even signed the contract. That they could have used that, say, look, obviously you're not in agreement with our terms and we're not going to bend to yours. So let's just cut our losses. If you don't like it, have your lawyers get in touch with my lawyers and we'll duke it out if that's what you want to do. But I got all these text messages and all of this evidence of us bending over backwards to bend to your whims, and you're still putting in this position. At this point, you've cost us millions of dollars. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to finish the film because of you. And because of these severe setbacks, I really hope we're going to be able to get something productive done. Otherwise, you could look forward to further litigation. Now, they wouldn't probably have said it just like that. Well, they would have said it some other kind of way. But I think that would have been the way to present a response to those demands. But they didn't. And because they didn't, I had a Bruce from Oregon a couple days ago talking about the danger of not enforcing contracts. The danger of not enforcing contracts is you start waiving rights under the contracts.
Mhm.
Just legally, that's what happens. If somebody is not abiding by the written terms of a contract and you keep on not enforcing it, then at some point you waive those terms because your conduct has waived those terms.
Mhm.
And now they have reason to believe that continued conduct that violates the written terms is acceptable and they can no longer be found in breach. And those are all issues for trial, litigation, whatever. But that's what happens. And that's what was going on here. So, all right, he gets their feedback. On November 10th, a producer emails Heath and other members of production to notify them that Lively would be available starting December 5th. They also share that Lively would like to see new script pages in a one-liner. What's a one-liner? These demands presented separately as the lawyers were discussing the 17-point list had nothing to do with safety and appeared to be another condition before Lively would return to production. They were further addressed in an email between Wayfarer's attorney and Lively's attorney the following day. So, November 11th, production counsel responds seeking clarification and stating Wayfarer, Sony, and production respectfully acknowledge that your client has concerns regarding safety, professionalism, workplace culture. Although our perspective differs in many respects, ensuring a safe environment for all is paramount, irrespective of differing viewpoints. You got to run through this stuff because of the danger of the sexual allegations. While working through Lively's protection letter or her return to work, Wayfarer counsel seeking to keep the production on track reaches out to Lively's lawyer, agent, and manager to send over the requested production materials, a one-liner, schedule new scripts, pages, etc. Additionally, Wayfarer counsel sought to coordinate a time for Lively to view the rough cut. So they're trying to accommodate her. Here's an email to prove it. After some back and forth, Lively's camp response made it clear that the list was not open for negotiation. The list we provided was not intended as a starting point for a negotiation. Rather, it is a set of protections that needs to be in place in order for our client to return to work. Wow. Please let us know as soon as possible whether Wayfarer will agree to accept all of the protections, including in our original communication, including without limitation number 11 and 12, and the following additional clarifications, 14, 15, and 16. In light of learning that Lively would not be available for a November shoot, Production reworked the schedule to begin in December instead. Heath shared the director's notes, the updated schedule, and here we go. Give me 1 second. I should have told you to tell everybody a story. In my
3 seconds. Remember,
Yeah.
I can't comment, so it's like it's strange.
Well, okay, so here we go. All right, so November 20th, the Sony exec notifies Wayfair that Lively has approved the A-list producer and introduces him to Baldoni and Heath. As far as coercion goes, at what point does this start rising to the level of coercion on the part of Lively? Because she's essentially holding the movie hostage.
Mhm.
It appears that many of those 17 demands that she had were already in place based on what we saw in the original evidence in this timeline. And so she's reinforcing things that are already in place. Her behavior has been strange, to say the least. And she's saying, unless I have categorical, unequivocal cooperation with every single one of these demands, then you can F your movie. I'm not coming back. How about that? At what point does that rise to the level of coercion and manipulation, undue influence?
Well, I wasn't present, of course, when you guys reviewed the evidence. But
Well, for example, just to give you an example, like the nudity writer stuff,
Mhm.
the intimacy coordinator, that
Yeah,
was well discussed. Well discussed. Notes.
no, of course, that's already established, but was it being followed? Because my understanding is that it wasn't being followed, and that's why she was demanding these to make sure that it was followed moving forward.
There is no evidence that it wasn't being followed on purpose. Matter of fact, there was more evidence that if it wasn't being followed, it's because she agreed
Mhm.
to, for example, conduct scenes or talk about scenes or be involved in scenes without an intimacy coordinator present. And she had acquiesced to that, despite what appeared to be Justin's insistence that one do be present and that they had discussions about that. He would go into her trailer. There's different things. All of it appeared to be on board. There was never a moment that was unequivocal where she was uncomfortable. I think the closest that I could probably find would have been like the Heath showing the pregnancy video, like 1 second of the pregnancy video of him and his wife. Other than that, it was nothing. There would be like multiple people inside of her trailer. She would invite people to go in there. And then when certain people would go in there, she would say, like, make them really uncomfortable. Don't look at me. How dare you make eye contact with me when I'm breastfeeding? It's like, you invited me in? There's like 12 other people in here. And then like accuse them of trying to like cop a look or something, you know? And at the same time, she would invite Justin in there and he'd be like, are you sure? And yes. And she just established this culture where that was okay. They were friendly with each other. No indication that there was any kind of discomfort because of sexual misconduct. And so now she wants to enforce all of these things. She's had a while to think about it since the strike. And now it's like, I want these things in place. And it's like, they're already in place. What more do you want?
At the same time, looking at it from the other side, well, if they were already in place, even if they were not being followed because, I don't know, at one moment she decided she didn't want it, then
There was a
just
point in time. Well, check this out. This is what I forgot to say. Blake refused to meet with an intimacy coordinator. She did. They had all said, all right, it's time to meet with the intimacy coordinator. She refuses. Nah. She kind of hand waves her away.
and
Now
I need to get a little bit more informed of what it's out there because I remember seeing the initial lawsuit from
yeah.
Blake and like the news that happened a couple of 2 or 3 weeks after. But I know there's been a lot that has come out. I know there was like a video recently about
Yeah.
one of the scenes and all that. But of course, like I don't know about this whole intimacy coordinator, like her refusing it, like if it's a text message, if it is a video, or how they know that. And I
There were
don't know.
text messages, there were notes, there were emails back and forth. She refused. the intimacy coordinator, and they proceeded with that one. They filmed the scene where, I guess, the giving birth scene, there was some issue with her being naked from the waist down
Mhm.
in pregnancy garb, and she claimed to be uncomfortable about that.
Okay.
But the conditions were, I don't know. I talked about that in my last episode. I don't want to get too caught up in that because I'll be repeating stuff that we've already gone over. But trust me when I say there's more evidence to suggest that she refused intimacy coordinators in spite of these protections being in place. People bending over backwards to try to comply with these intimacy coordinator, nudity writers, certain production requirements, and her saying, just kind of doing whatever she wants to do. And then making these suggestions to change different things with the set, with the script, with the wardrobe, all that stuff. And so now, granted, this timeline was created by Justin's attorneys.
Mhm.
It's
Okay.
obviously going to be one-sided in favor of him. I'm just trying to evaluate the evidence as it comes along. Right now, I got a bunch of text messages and things to suggest that maybe Blake Lively's a big freaking liar. Maybe.
I think I don't think it will like this whole thing will raise to me at least to the level of coercion because say that they refuse to follow them. They were supposed to be following them already, even if she at some point said no. Like if they said no, what would have been the difference? Just say yes and continue, which is what
Right.
they did, obviously.
That was kind of our point on the last show when my
Mhm.
Bruce was with me. He's like, that's the problem of not enforcing the rules. You
Oh,
get
yeah.
too goosey with the rules, and all of a sudden you run into litigation issues. People start accusing people of being uncomfortable on set and inappropriate behavior. The rules are in place to safeguard against those allegations. And when you don't follow the rules, you're placing us at risk. 100% I agree with you on that. And so, anyway, let me continue with how am I doing on time? We're doing really good. Okay, so on November 22nd, despite working around the clock to meet the December 11th shoot date, Lively was ultimately unavailable. Production was once again rescheduled to start in January. On December 27th, Justin emailed his team of producers with notes on his revised script, expressing sadness and frustration over Lively's takeover of the film. Would you call those demands a takeover of the film?
I wouldn't.
If you're representing Blake, what would you call it? I know how I would frame it.
Maybe, I don't know, kind of like a confirmation of
I
the
would
rules
frame
we're supposed to follow?
I would frame it as a unifying document meant to force everybody to play by the rules as originally contemplated and nothing more.
Mhm.
We're just asking to abide by the same rules that were already contemplated months earlier.
Yes.
And for his attorneys to accuse us of somehow taking over a movie because we wanted to follow the rules is another example of how, outlandish these allegations are. Whatever. That's how they're going to frame it, right? On the other hand, Baldoni's attorney just saying no. She's essentially trying to take over the film. She's not going to participate. We're already way too far into production to get somebody else. We're way over budget as it is. Now we have to bend to her demands or risk losing out on all of our hard work, money, whatever. The movie might just go away altogether. That's what they are deeming as taking over the film. So there are these two competing sides. And you're right, it's not so clear when you frame it as that because on the one hand, those 17 demands are pretty much in lockstep with the original contemplated rules that they had
Exactly.
talked about for months before. And so are they demands or are they a request to make sure that we're following the rules? The problem is that she framed them as demands,
Mhm.
not as, could we just make sure that we're paying attention to the rules because I have these concerns. They're consistent with what we talked about here, and here. What are we doing? Maybe that would have been better, but she phrased them as demands. And so now they get to argue that she's trying to take over the film. It's not yet clear to me where we're going with this, but maybe the farther we go, it'll be clearer. I don't know. Let's see. So on December 27th, Baldoni emails, sadness, frustration, having no energy left to fight. He reluctantly declared he was waving the white flag and submitting. That's the problem, dude. That's the problem. He's been doing that the entire time. Would give Lively 98% of what he wants. He also conveyed serious concern over handling the intimacy scenes, giving the accusations inherent in Lively's return to production demands. I guess I would be too. What if you had an intimacy scene with somebody and they started accusing you of like trying to cop a feeler or something or being sexually inappropriate? You wouldn't want to return to filming for all of that. You know, the hell with that. Whatever. You think, I don't need to be a part of this. We don't even need to do it.
It's like with the domestic violence restraining orders. Whenever there's like a false accusation, the respondent usually doesn't want to be around that other person anymore, even if they dismiss the action. It's like, no, I don't want to be around you. I don't want to be caught in a situation where I might be accused of something that I haven't done. So yeah,
you don't even want to be part of giving the appearance of doing anything wrong, and so you're protecting yourself at that point. So I imagine he would have these reservations. So Baldoni asked his producing partners for guidance, stating he was rightfully afraid that something innocuous or not to Lively's standards would very likely be used against him, as it already had, adding that creativity is impossible in an environment shrouded by fear. A producer responded thanking him for his thoughtful breakdown, especially considering the circumstances. And here's the email where that happened. So December 28th, if I go and read all of these emails, we're going to be here forever. So I'm just trying to speed through this. I understand it gets better the deeper we go into it. December 28th, Lively emails Baldoni to request a meeting at her apartment with him and the team ahead of the start of production on January 4. On January 4, Baldoni, Heath, a Sony exec, a producer, the A-list producer, and the film's first AD met at Lively and Reynolds' New York apartment ahead of the scheduled production restart on January 4, 2024. The team arrived prepared with production binders in hand, eager to kick off the next phase of filming. However, Lively had different intentions for the meeting. She began by reading from notes on her phone, outlining a series of alleged infractions from phase 1. What? She began reading notes on her phone, outlining a series of alleged infractions. Oh, grievances. Reynolds then berated Baldoni, demanding Baldoni apologize to Lively for actions that had either never occurred or had been grossly mischaracterized. If I was Baldoni at that point, I'd be like, that's the second time you came at me cross-eyed about your wife. The first time was he screamed at him for asking her how much she weighed.
Mm-hmm.
He comes out screaming at him and says, how dare you ask my wife how much she weighs? That's inappropriate. And it's like this weird, like Will Smith moment, like you're Chris Rock. Like, what are you supposed to even do? Here's Ryan Reynolds. You're trying to like be friends, and he's coming over here angry, and he slaps you in the face. Do you slap him back? Do you match his energy? What do you do? Now here we are, January 4th. This is occasion number 2, where he's coming at him cross-eyed. And I'm not sure how Baldoni feels about it, but given what I know about him, that he appears to be a giant pushover, I imagine he doesn't push back. Sure enough, Reynolds then berated Baldoni, demanding he apologize. Baldoni resisted apologizing for things he had not done, which further enraged Reynolds. Well, good for him. Everyone, including the new producer Lively, had requested to join the production, and the Sony rep left the meeting in shock. I wonder what's going on here. That does not appear to be a proportional response to what's been happening.
No. And I have heard, of course, I haven't really seen the videos, but that there's out there a lot of I guess, I don't know, theories as to what's actually going on behind all this.
Oh, I have theories now. I have a theory.
Yeah.
Here's my theory.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to ask me based on what I've seen, on the evidence that what I've seen, here's what I think. I think that Blake was getting really flirty with Justin early on.
I've heard that.
He shut her down. You know what? Let me see if I could find that.
I have that theory.
Oh, what's your theory? Let me take you to this text message. Okay. Analyze this text message as a female who maybe has a crush on a guy. and you're texting him something. So this is the text that you send. They're getting ready to you know about the rooftop scene?
I saw the rooftop scene, but I don't know what you're referring to.
This is when they're filming the rooftop scene or rehearsing for it or something. So this is what she says. She sends this to Justin. I can send you my pass at the roof or just read with you when we get together next week. Let me know what you prefer. If you knew me in person longer, you'd have a sense of how flirty and yummy the ball busting would play. It's my love language, spicy and playfully bold, never with teeth. What the fuck is she talking about, Ileana?
I don't know.
Never with teeth, what? And him serving it back to her is just as important. You don't usually see both the man and the woman with such agency and humor. Anyways, I can act it out for you next week to make sure it comes through. Or I can send now. Let me know what you prefer. XX. What does XX mean?
Like XO, I don't know.
Oh, I assume that you would know better than I.
No,
And,
I'm not very good with those abbreviations.
oh, of course, that makes perfect sense. But let's just re-examine this sentence. If you knew me in person longer, you'd have a sense of how flirty and yummy the ball busting would play. It's my love language, spicy and playfully bold, never with teeth. And him serving it back to her is just as important. How is a man to interpret that sentence in this context?
I don't know, because on one hand, when I read it first, I was like, what is she talking about? Is she talking about what I think? But then I read it again, and it's not so sexual as I thought it was initially. Um,
I don't know.
I mean, even if it was, I wouldn't really count it as flirting.
That is a flirty text. There's no chance that's not a flirty text. She's literally saying, you have no idea how flirty I am, how spicy and playfully bold. You have no idea how flirty and yummy the ball busting would play. She's identifying that this is a flirty text. In what context is this not a flirtatious text?
Because the way that I see it is like she's describing how she acts or how she does her work.
But she's not talking about this in the context of her character is the problem.
No?
She's talking about her, Blake Lively, not her, the character. I can send you my pass at the roof or just read with you when we get together for a week. Let me know what you prefer. If you knew me in person longer, you'd have a sense of how flirty and yummy the ball must have been playing and never with teeth, whatever. His response to that, let's just assume it was a flirty text. Let's just say it was. Let's just say it wasn't innocent.
Mm-hmm.
His response was, sorry, I can't see the timestamp on what. I don't know how much time passed between text messages, but his response to that flirty text was sorry, was just crying my eyes out as kids and family just left for another 5 weeks and it was a shit show. Basically redirecting to, hey, I have a wife and kids and I really like my family, so fuck off. But yeah, and it's so important for the film, not playing into the flirtatiousness of it all. I had flagged that a couple of days ago as I think that might have been the start of her feeling rejected and a shift in attitude. And sure enough, right after this, it got progressively worse with her additional demands and her weird behavior to where now we're 60 pages in and where she's making 18 different demands and we're not returning to set unless they bend. That's my thoughts. What do you think?
I don't know. Is this the only text that alludes to like her being flirty? Because if it was the only one,
I mean, you'd have to read them all in context. It's the most obvious flirty text.
Okay.
That sticks out in my mind. And I don't have a photographic memory. Maybe there's more flirtier or more flirty texts. But that's the one that sticks out as what appeared to me to be an attempt to cross a boundary and Justin didn't want to. And maybe she felt a certain way about it. That's my thoughts. And ever since then,
you think that would have been enough to like create this whole thing?
Well, I mean, check it out. This is what I know. People in Hollywood are not like regular folks.
Oh no.
They're egotistical. They don't deal with rejection well. They
Mhm,
have egos the size of the Grand Canyon,
mhm.
and the slightest dent, the slightest hint at rejection, in order to protect those oversized egos, could result in this defensive behavior to where it's culminated in this coercive trying to take over the film. How some may interpret these demands. Yeah, I think that this might have led to all of that. It might have been the crack in the ice that has been spreading, and now here we are, and we're at the point where the movie is in jeopardy. Yeah, I think that might have been a thing. Now,
It could have been.
um,
My theory is that they just butted heads. They're both have very big egos. They have a very what is it? Like their personalities in real life, I don't know, they bring out the worst of the other. And
well,
I don't think
maybe.
either one is right or wrong completely. I think they both did things that they were not supposed to, and this is a shit show to me. Like I find that they're both being very petty with these lawsuits.
That might be true. See, the problem with that is Justin's text messages and communications with her appears to be overly deferential to the point where
Mhm.
you've heard me call him a pushover. Every time she barks at him, he like
Mhm.
cowers and says, "Okay, fine."
Okay.
And he's not had any pushback, at least not that I could see in this evidence. Maybe there is stuff like that. I just haven't seen it. I'm just saying that it appears to me he's a pushover, and it's the results of the disparity in their positions in Hollywood, perhaps, that he's rolling over so often. He
Mhm.
starts to push back a little bit here, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think that Lively was very, I don't want to say very clearly. I just suspect that she was hurt by the exchange.
She's a diva. I mean, there's no she's a diva, and she's demanding. That's I mean, I think that's pretty clear. Um, but I don't know if her being a diva and demanding negates like the rest of the things that they're alleging. I don't believe the whole like search like the sexual allegations. I think that is an exaggeration. But I don't know.
Yeah,
I think, like I said, I think they both have very big egos and they both did things that they were not supposed to. And this is just a shit show.
well, you got to tie this into how Reynolds is acting now. This is the second time that he's came at Justin sideways, right? Is it possible that
Mhm.
he suspects that Blake had a little crush on Justin because of the things that she said to him? Perhaps the ball busting going on in that house, and now he's looking at him a certain kind of way. And maybe she was overly trying to guard against the letting her husband in on the fact that she had a crush on Baldoni by going to him and over exaggerating these claims to the point where it led to these false allegations making its way into litigation and now turning into this shit show. The same way that we see oftentimes lots of false allegations blowing up because you're telling them to other people and they demand to do certain things. And even though the person doesn't want to do it, it ends up in a DVRO or some kind of criminal complaints, and or in this case, some kind of civil complaints alleging sexual misconduct where you might not have had it before if she wasn't being influenced by a jealous husband. What do you think of that?
It's possible, but at the same time, I don't know. With her being famous and all that, like, I don't feel like she will put herself in that position just to, I guess, protect the whole jealousy thing with the husband. I don't know. She's pretty much putting her career in danger just to, I don't know.
Have you not heard any of the stories coming out of the Puff Daddy case? Come on now.
Puff
He
Daddy, I
was doing
started.
all kind of crazy stuff.
Uh, that case is. I think I
See,
stopped when I they started counting the baby oil bottles. I was like, you know what, this is too much for me. So no,
swimming in vats of ecstasy laced baby oil. And come on,
it's
man.
too much. It's too much. And this one also, like after Baldoni's lawsuit, everything that has come forward after, I have read here and there, but not too much because to me it's just I don't know. I it's getting to the point of the Amber Heard type of a
Oh,
of
it's gonna get there. It's gonna get there for sure. It is. It's gonna wait till the depositions start dropping. It's gonna
Mhm,
get nuts. This case is gonna get nuts. Anyway, continuing with this. Um, Team prepared, Binders, Reynolds is berating Baldoni. He's pushing back on some of the bullshit claims. Everyone, including the producer Lively, had requested to join the production. The new A-list producer remarked that in their 40-year career, they had never seen anyone spoken to in such a matter during a meeting. Later, the Sony rep shared that they often reflected on the meeting and regretted not intervening to stop Reynolds' tirade against Baldoni. This makes me feel like there's something else going on
mhm.
behind the scenes. It had nothing to do with Justin. I think there was something going on with Reynolds and Blake. I'm completely speculating, so it's completely worthless, my opinion. That just doesn't seem like a proportional response to what's gone on here. Important note, though Lively CRD complaint misleadingly suggests that the parties agreed to a list of 30 items during this meeting, many of the items listed in her complaint were entirely new, baseless, never presented. Okay. So January 5th, from January to February 9th, as Lively admits, filming concludes without any further grievance from Lively or references to previous disputes. The parties agree to implement and follow the protections for return to production to ensure that the film could be completed. That's the effect of coercion, isn't it? So that it could be completed, marketed, released safely, and successfully, protecting the investments. And it was. Production of the film resumed on January 5, concluded February 9. Film was a resounding success. Baldoni starts his first day back in the edit bay with his two editors on the 22nd of February. A couple days later, Heath and Baldoni are informed of Lively's request made through the A-list producer to join Baldoni in the editing bay. She also expressed that she had limited time before leaving to shoot her next film in April. On February 25, Baldoni sends a group text to Lively and the A-list producer to inform her that he still needs a couple of weeks to get the film into a presentable shape. He proposes having Lively join the editing process during the week of March 18th. Lively responds that she would like to be in the passenger seat with him and wants to get started as soon as possible. Baldoni sends a text to his editors to inform them. On February 26th, Baldoni responds to Lively's request to be in the passenger seat despite her infringement of his DGA protected time and met with Lively's threats. Baldoni let her know that he will reach out at the end of the week to update her on progress, still attempting to be encouraging in order to keep her happy. And here's text messages documenting that. So February 28th, Baldoni and Heath connect with a senior Sony marketing exec to determine the best path forward with Lively regarding her desire to be involved in the edit and how they can all stay aligned. After the call, the Sony exec expressed to Baldoni, "We are all in with you. At the end of this pain is a big win." We're getting to the end. Justin and Wayfair enlist Screen Engine to recruit a 100-person group to watch the current cut and provide feedback. On March 9th, Baldoni shares the assembly cuts with Blake. "Hey, Blake, you should have the movie in your inbox. Great, can't wait to watch. Hey, guys, just for your own notification, I hired Screen Engine to recruit a 100-person, 90% women group to watch the cut." Did you watch this with your husband?
No, I watch it alone. My husband wouldn't let me watch it in peace. He will be, like, making a comment about how bad the movie is every 10 minutes, so
Oh, good on him. You know that's just the ploy. It's like, look, you're gonna have to watch this by yourself. I ain't watching it. Um, Blake says, "That's great. Please send the full breakdown. Would love to see all the scores." They're somewhat friendly, right?
mm,
Baldoni
mm.
texts with his editors. Um, March 11th, Lively watches the WIP assembly cut and informs Justin that the A-list producer via text that she will not be joining the edit, but will instead join the following day. On March 12th, Lively joins the edit and Baldoni and his editors. She shares 7 pages of notes with Baldoni, and the editors spend hours implementing, despite Baldoni not agreeing with all of them. Despite sharing 7 pages of notes and requiring Baldoni and the editors incorporate them, Lively didn't show up for day 2. She just makes demands and doesn't bother to follow through. And here's the back and forth going over that. I'm not even going to try to read these little miniature text messages. On March 15th, Baldoni, keeping in mind Lively's threat to not promote the film, continues to encourage Lively to share thoughts with him and the editors while keeping her updated on the progress, all in an effort to keep her happy. In the text, he also shares a comprehensive working update of the film based on the notes Lively provided. And here is evidence of that. So on April 3rd, Sony informs Wayfarer that Lively has escalated her demands, now requesting solo time in the editing suite with her own editor. A shocking and unprecedented overreach. To make matters worse, Wayfarer is told that Lively has made it clear that she will not promote the film unless this demand is met. Knowing the failure of the lead actress to promote the film would be detrimental. This maneuver felt like a professional request. Less like a professional request and more like extortion, holding the film's marketing efforts hostage to gain creative control. Wayfarer is left with no choice but to agree.
That definitely, it's a clear extortion. But
I was going to say, okay, are we done with the, okay, you were not sure before, but tell me how that would not be considered extortion.
no,
If
that
all of them were true.
no, that was 100% extortion. I mean, there's no defense for that.
I was going to say, how would you even defend it?
There's no way.
I could defend it.
Okay, go ahead.
Guys, you guys all really that afraid of my client Blake Lively? Come on now. She requested to be part of the editing process. She never said she demanded to have final authority on anything. You guys are still the ones in control. She just wants creative input. That's all. At what point does she ever say, do this or else? That's what she's going to say. And how could you prove it otherwise? What in here suggests that she couldn't make that argument?
No, she could have, yeah. I'm just thinking that because of what had happened before, they probably knew that she wasn't just gonna sit there and watch. She was probably gonna.
So they're assuming, they're making assumptions, but they're making assumptions based on her history of conduct over the months where she would make demands and then they would make changes. And so she's behaving no different now than she behaved 6 months ago when she was doing the exact same thing and there was no issue back then. Why now? The movie's over. What are you guys talking about? I've been doing this with you guys the entire time. That's what she's going to say. That's the argument. It is extortion. I agree with you, but that's the argument that they're going to make. Okay, so did I get to this part? The gravity of allowing her. Oh, the gravity of allowing her access to the edit, a process typically reserved for the director and post-production team, is not lost on Wayfarer. It undermines the creative integrity of the project and sets a troubling precedent, all while amplifying tensions between Lively and the team. On April 4th, the A-list. Do you know who this producer is, by the way?
I read about the producer, but I don't remember who it is.
It doesn't matter. The A-list producer reached out to.
Didn't this thing came out in December? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this timeline came out just last Friday, I think. The A-list producer reaches out to Lively and Baldoni in a group text to request that the three of them jump on a call to discuss time-sensitive things. Lively is not available this week to speak with Baldoni and the A-list producer, and ultimately did not speak to Baldoni directly about her demands. Hey, Blake, I'm in New York and Justin's in LA and you're in Italy, I think. Is there any way for the three of us to chat tomorrow or today? Justin's available tomorrow from 7 to 1. LA time. Let us know. Blake says, hey, I have no sense of my schedule this week. They're still finding their groove. It's day 3. I'm in every shot over here. And when I'm not shooting, I'm in fittings or meetings this week. It's going to be near impossible. Okay. So faced with yet another unprecedented demand from Lively to edit the film on her own with her own editor, Wayfarer finds itself with no choice but to assent yet again.
Why?
That's what I'm saying. Like, why do they have no choice? Just edit the freaking movie without her then. She's not available. You gave her an opportunity. She couldn't make it. You can't make it. But we got a schedule and we're not giving you creative control. Why couldn't they have just said that? I don't know. Wayfarer is forced to balance the need to keep the production on track with managing Lively's increasingly audacious requests. Wayfarer reluctantly agrees to grant Lively 10 days in the editing room with her personal editor. Oh, that's such a bad idea. With the understanding that her ideas will ultimately be incorporated into Baldoni's director's cuts. This concession reflects Wayfarer's continued effort to maintain progress while navigating an exceptionally challenging situation. With each ask, Lively makes it plainly known that if she is not given what she wants, she will not promote the film at all. All right. Do you think that they needed her to promote the film? Were you even aware? Look, you were invested in this. You read the book. You saw the movie. Did you need Blake Lively to promote this film, or were you going to watch it anyway?
I was gonna watch it anyways, but I think for somebody that maybe didn't read the book, um, it would have helped for her, the main character, to maybe um, promote it. I just happen to be one of those people that don't watch those, I guess, interviews. But I don't know.
Let me ask you another question. Did you know who Blake Lively was before this lawsuit or this
Yeah,
movie?
definitely. I have seen a lot of her work before.
Oh, you would be the type. Maybe it's me. I don't know. I didn't know who she was.
It
I couldn't tell you.
well, she doesn't really make stuff that I think you will watch, so that
Definitely
makes
not.
sense that you haven't really seen her. She was in a Gossip Girl. It's a teenager series. I don't know, from many
Oh,
years ago.
Gossip Girls.
Yeah, so
Sign me up. All
and
right.
she has made a couple of like Netflix girly movies. So yeah, nothing that you probably watch. You don't have a reason to really know her. And he has also made some I will say maybe girly or um romantic comedy type of series. But this girl,
Rom-coms.
yeah, rom-coms. No, but he was well known for this series. Oh my goodness, I can't remember the name. She was Hispanic and she gives birth. She gets accidentally inseminated with his sperm and uh, anyways, yeah, I don't know if you have seen him before in other productions, but that's what I
Nope.
remember him from.
I don't know any of these freaking people. Renata says, though, she says that the female lead is the one that drives the movie. She says she's the fashionista of this time. She is? What is a fashionista? Like a fashion influencer?
Yeah, she's very well known for her fashion style. Like she mentioned, she tends to be a Met Gala hostess and
Lead
promotes a
on.
lot of high-end designer brands. So yes, because Gossip Girl was very into fashion. So I guess from there she just grew pretty fast into the fashion world.
All right. Well, let me continue with this because I think we're getting into the scene with the good stuff. I feel like stuff's about to hit the fan.
I'm gonna mention Jane the Virgin was the series that he was in. It's a
Jane the Virgin.
comedy, romantic comedy type of a series.
Okay. Yeah, definitely not a movie that I've ever seen. So this concession okay. On April 17th, Sony Marketing and Baldoni coordinate efforts to have Baldoni attend Book Bonanza and show audience a surprise early screening of the film. And there's the evidence. On April 18th, in a group text involving A-list producer, a Sony exec, Baldoni and Heath, the team discusses the possibility of sending Baldoni's editor to New York. Oh, you know what? You know what? Give me 1 second. I got to fix something really quick. Really quick. Oh, I've been doing this a lot. Ileana, tell me a story.
Story about what?
Uh,
I don't know what to tell you. My life has been pretty busy, and there's not much other than toddler stories in my
Toddler
head.
story? How's your kid? How's your baby doing?
She's huge. She's throwing tantrums, starting to speak, and I'm tired every day.
Mm-hmm.
I can't watch TV anymore. She pretty much is the boss here right now, and yeah, I'm just surviving pretty much with her.
All right. I'm ready again. So April 18th. Yeah, no, isn't that truth? The kids somehow end up as the boss of the house. There's nothing you could do.
You have
It's gonna be that way for a while.
I know, you have 2 little bosses. That's
Yeah, little shits. All right, so April 18th, in the group text involving A-list producers Sony exec Baldoni and Heath, the team discusses the possibility of sending Baldoni's editor to New York. Heath emphasizes the importance of clarifying that while Baldoni had agreed to allow her into the editing process, it should not, under any circumstances, be interpreted as an endorsement of the idea. Justin's agreement was purely a concession to move forward, not a reflection of his confidence in or approval of the decision. Below are texts between Justin and his editors discussing whether to have one editor fly to New York or work with Lively in person or remote. Between April 22nd and May 1st, so Lively and the editor work on her cut of the film at Wayfair's and Sony's expense. In the meantime, Baldoni continues cutting his version of the film, all the while believing that he will have the opportunity to consider incorporating Lively's edits at a later date. All right, more with this editing stuff. Heath learns that Lively asked Sony to bring other collaborators into the cutting room. In response, a Sony exec relays a firm message to Lively stating, "This is a Wayfarer movie. Wayfarer has final cut and runs the process.
Mhm.
Sony is an investor and distributor. The Sony exec hoped to reiterate that Lively needed Wayfarer's approval for any such involvement, reinforcing the boundaries." This is the Sony exec, the Jamey Heath. Spoke to blank. He will tell Blake tomorrow he cannot authorize her request for all those reasons stated above. On April 24th, on the same day, a Sony exec informs Heath that Sony is holding firm and refusing Lively's request to bring others into the cutting room. Heath conveys Baldoni's growing frustration, knowing that while Sony appeared to bend over backwards to accommodate Lively's demands, they do not extend the same courtesy to him as the director. In response, the Sony exec acknowledged the imbalance and admitted that this was not a situation anyone at Sony had anticipated or wanted to be in, underscoring the complexity and strain of managing escalating tensions. All right, so there's this back and forth going on. More stuff between Heath and Wayfarer. And on April 30th, still unsatisfied, Lively demands another extension of time in the cutting room, pushing the deadline from May 1st to May 8th, adding to the audacity. Lively insists that Sony and Wayfarer hire her personal editor, someone she had worked with previously, most notably on projects with Reynolds. Faced with this escalating situation, Wayfarer considers granting the extension, but attaches a significant condition. Lively would need to sign her long overdue acting agreement. So very early on the show, I told you how Lively never signed her contract, right? This is what they're talking about.
Mhm.
This document, which had been left unsigned for over a year, would prevent Lively from continuing to leverage her promotional participation as a bargaining tool. Wayfarer's attorneys had been tirelessly trying to secure her signature, and this moment represented a pivotal opportunity to resolve the standoff. He clearly communicates Wayfarer's position in an email to Lively's rep, hoping to bring an end to the ongoing impasse while protecting the integrity of the production. Hi, good to speak. This is Jamey Heath. Good speaking with you earlier. Wanted to quickly recap. We spoke about Wayfarer originally agreed to have Blake work with blank editor on the movie in order to express the editorial creative vision on the dates 4/22 to 5/1. We have since learned of a request, continue working on our own editor. We are prepared to extend that period of time, with the understanding that prior to any continued work, he will receive her signed contract for the movie. So they're finally drawing a line in the sand with her. On April 30th, Heath is informed that Lively has told Sony Marketing that she would refuse to approve trailers, TV spots, digital marketing assets if Baldoni's acting credit appeared alongside hers. Get the fuck out of here. Sony Marketing, citing Lively's contractual approval rights over her image and likeness in promotional materials, warns Heath that she could effectively block the release of the almost every piece of promotional content featuring her face or name, essentially all of it. Faced with this leverage, Baldoni and Wayfair reluctantly agree to remove his name from the before or above title, credit in trailers, and related marketing cutdowns. This concession is yet another clear example of Lively's ongoing effort to diminish Justin's presence and influence on the project. There is no creative or professional justification for his name to be excluded. Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah, it is.
It is purely a result of her demands. The situation escalates further when on June 18th, Sony requests that Baldoni's film buy credit be removed from the film's poster, a move that reinforces Lively's wholesale erasure of his contributions. And here, Justin has been planning this movie for a period of years.
Mm-hmm.
He had enlisted some domestic violence groups to attach to the film to raise awareness for domestic violence.
Mm-hmm.
He's putting all this time and effort, and she's, according to this, trying to actively erase him from the film and give that credit to who? Would be my question. So what is, and here's the, I guess, proof of the email about the credit. Hey, Justin, now imagine you've been working on this film and you get this email. I hope this finds you well, considering how hard you're working. I'm helping blank be up some loose ends as we near the launch of our trailer. I know blank mentioned Mr. Jamey, but I wanted to follow up with you regarding waiving your name factor credits before or above the title or AV assets, including trailer and related trailer assets, TV ads, and related digital marketing. Can you please confirm that you are okay for us to proceed as discussed? Please don't hesitate to let us know if you have any questions or concerns. I would have said, fuck all the way off with that. I ain't removing shit.
Yeah.
I hope that's what he said. I'm the one that he's been working on this film for all this time.
Yes, exactly. Like, why would they remove his name? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that is a bullying move, a bullying tactic if I ever saw one. It's one thing to list demands. It's quite another to remove the name of somebody, giving them credits for their work on a film production. That is a huge deal. May 2nd, 2024, while Lively is holding the film hostage in the edit room, she is simultaneously stalling the film's marketing by refusing to approve key materials, including the trailer release. With less than 3 months until the film's premiere, Sony becomes increasingly alarmed about the delayed rollout of the trailer, a cornerstone of the promotional campaign. In a text between Heath, a Sony film exec, and a Sony marketing exec who had just spoken with Lively, they informed Heath of Lively's still escalating demands. Lively's not going to approve the trailer release unless she's granted more time in the edit room with her personal editor. Adding to the pressure, Lively made a veiled threat, implying that she might change her mind about reaching out to Taylor Swift to secure the use of My Tears Ricochet or the trailer if her demands are not met. Is that like a song in the film or something?
I guess it is. Not.
I don't know. When he,
I didn't pay attention to the song, so.
Oh, you don't know the song? Well, I don't know it either. I mean, well, when he stands firm and refuses to acquiesce, the Sony marketing exec delivers a sharp and pointed warning. You don't want to play ball. You're going to delay and greatly hurt the movie. Good luck. This stark response signals that Sony, too, was beginning to apply pressure to Wayfair, effectively strong-arming them into compliance. The message makes it clear that the studio is growing increasingly frustrated with the situation and is prepared to hold Wayfair accountable for any negative fallout, adding yet another layer of tension to an already fraught dynamic falling apart. And here is the messages back and forth. Sony, Jamey, Sony exec. So May 3rd, faced with escalating threats, ranging from potentially delaying the film's release to outright refusing to promote it, Wayfair once again, and reluctantly, concedes to her demands, allowing her to continue editing with a personal editor. Further, they withdrew their reasonable request for Lively to sign her long overdue contract, opting instead to focus on maintaining forward momentum. Wayfair's only request was that Lively provide updates by the end of the day on May 8th. And Liana, I'm going to take you straight back to contracts. class.
God. I hated contracts, but okay.
You have a contract. There's a written agreement that's drawn up about a
Mhm,
year ago.
mhm,
Nobody signs the contract, or one party signs the contract, the other party does not. But
mhm,
then you start to act under the terms of those contracts for about a year,
mhm,
except the party that doesn't sign the contract decides to start doing their own thing, making other
mhm,
demands. And then you tell them to sign the original contract as it was drafted about a year ago, and they refuse to sign it.
mhm.
Is it still a binding contract?
There is a contract by whatever she has done or they have done all this time. I can't remember the specific term that is, used in contracts, but,
Implied in fact. It's an
yes,
implied in fact
right,
contract. So
exactly.
the
There is
original writ I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I said that there is a contract, but it's probably not the same as it was
Not that document, right?
drafted, that it was not signed because they have been
Right.
doing whatever they want all this time.
That's exactly it. So that written piece of paper is worthless now
Mhm,
because we haven't been going by those terms for the better part of a year. So fuck off with that. It's worthless. There's new
yeah,
terms now, and the new terms are based on your infinite acquiescences to her demands, the constant bending to her will, and it's continuing into May of 2024. That's the problem. So the question then becomes, if she secured those contract modifications
mhm,
through coercive tactics, that's what is going to be litigated in this case. And it's arguable because obviously they're going to have arguments. They're saying one thing, she's going to say another.
exactly.
All right. So May 6th, Baldoni and Colleen Hoover host a trailer launch event at Sony's studio lot and shoot promotional content in support of the film. That's them together.
That's the author of
Is
the
that
book.
Blake? I
No,
was
no,
going to say
that's
that.
the author of the book, and Colleen Hoover is the writer of the book, and of course, Baldoni, that's him.
Hmm. Okay. So on the final day on which she is approved to edit the film, Lively refuses to turn over her cut to the film's director and instead tells Sony that she wants to do a friends and family screening of her cut to gather feedback and continue working on her edit. This was, of course, at Wayfair and Sony's expense, not accounted for in the budget. Sony and Wayfair do an official audience test screening of Baldoni's cut in the Aliso Viejo, California. The film scores 94% with females under 35, film's primary target audience. Both Sony and Wayfair are ecstatic about the score. Did you give it a 94%?
No.
Well, you're not in that demographic, so your opinion doesn't count.
Thanks.
Baldoni on
Letting people know I'm over 35.
well, my bad. I'm over 35 too, if it makes it feel any better. Baldoni shares the official audience test screening with editors. I hope Blake got a copy. No, don't think so. Wouldn't matter anyway. No, don't think so. Wouldn't matter anyway. She has her mind made up. We focus on what's best for the film. It will all work out. Well, we're out in the world part. Just curious if you guys have peeked at her cut and if anything has changed. I have been told that we are not permitted to look. Shit. Haha. Wow. When did that happen? As per Sony this evening through Blake or Blank. Wow. Okay, then. The editors and director isn't allowed to look at an actress's cut. Got it. Well, here we go. We will keep taking the high road. So they're all just so sick and tired of Blake at this point. It's very clear. Yet still bending to her demands. So something's got to give. The trailer for the film was released to the world on May 16th. On May 18th, Lively hosts her friends and family screening. On May 20th, Wayfair is informed through Sony that Lively, emboldened by the feedback she received from her friends and family. Well, that's the best place to get feedback, is your friends and family, not objective members of the universe that don't already root for you. Demanded an official audience test screening of her version of the film. In light of Lively's threat to withhold promotion of the film, as well as her barely veiled threats to end Baldoni's career with a slew of false accusations, the studio reluctantly agreed to do an official audience test of both versions. Where does she What was the veiled threat to end Baldoni's career? What did I miss?
I know, I read that, I'm like, "What are they referring to?"
Is it the taking his name off the credits thing?
That or
Well,
not
maybe
promote the movie so that it
there's
will
there's
f
not,
I don't know.
I don't know. I got to see. There's not a piece of evidence below this paragraph like there are the other ones. Let's see what they mean. Oh, false accusations. Maybe we're getting to it. The studio reluctantly agrees. Now, the decision was made on the understanding that Lively had agreed with Sony that if Baldoni's director's cut tested higher, she would drop the matter and fully cooperate so that Baldoni could finish the film without further interference. On May 30th, Sony and Wayfarer held an official audience test screening of Lively's cut in Aliso Viejo. The results revealed that Lively's cut scored an 82% approval rating, 12 points below Baldoni's. The same evening, a senior Sony marketing exec contacts Lively to discuss the scores, and instead of honoring her original promise, Lively rescinded it, doubling down on her refusal to promote Baldoni's cut, regardless of its stronger audience performance. To make matters worse, Lively further asserted that Colleen Hoover would also refuse to promote the film unless Lively's cut was released. This claim was deeply disheartening, as the long-standing relationship between Colleen, Baldoni, and Heath had been one of mutual respect, trust, and admiration. So I guess these are the movie scores. Blake's cut, Baldoni's cut, 94, 82. On June 2nd, I still haven't seen the evidence yet where she's threatening to end his career.
I know, like, there's a lot being said, but, like, the text messages, like, the recent ones that it's just, like, them talking among each other, not really including Blake, just showing that they're tired of her, but there's nothing else. I
Well,
guess it will come out in
maybe,
trial or
oh, for sure. I was just assuming it's going to be in this document. I guess,
I don't know.
well, let's see. Once again, Wayfair finds itself with no choice but to allow Lively to continue her edit, effectively sidelined to sharing notes with Lively and her editor. All right, by this point, it had become painfully clear to Justin and the Wayfair team that Lively was determined to assume full creative control from the director and financier and the studio behind the picture. I mean, based on her demands, maybe, but the nefarious objectives, I haven't seen evidence of that yet. And if some of you all have seen evidence of it, I haven't gotten to it yet, so be patient with me. This is an email, Blake. Notes from editorial team for Blake and editor to consider. As discussed, the team has gone through Blake's last edit and the following notes for Blake to consider. We'd like this to be presented in the spirit of whatever. Okay. So June 3rd, Baldoni is informed that Lively would be attending Book Bonanza with Hoover instead of Baldoni. Jennifer Abel, Baldoni's publicist at Jones Works, and Justin share a text exchange disheartened how things have unfolded.
It's just between them.
Yeah, between Jen and Justin. Jamie just filled me in about BookCon. I know this is devastating. Such a kick in the gut. Eye on the prize. Her attending BookCon is a win for the film ultimately. Justin, she's kicked me out efficiently from the film now. She's finishing it all. I can't be involved. Music, sound, VFX, everything. Make it through somehow, just need to feel it all. Baldoni's editors informed Baldoni that they heard from a secret source that Lively was incorporating a bunch of Baldoni's versions back into the film ahead of second official audience test screening of Lively's cut on June 6th. All right. So on June 6th, Wayfair and Sony pay for a second official audience test screening of Lively's latest cut. Scores marginally increased across the board, scoring 83%. Still 11 points short of Baldoni's cut. What cut ultimately got released? Do you know?
I have no idea, but I'm curious to know. Like, I want to watch the other cuts now, like to compare them.
Oh, I don't care to watch this movie that many times.
Oh no, that the end. Well, that's true.
Um,
Like, I wonder if the reason why Colleen, the writer, sided with her, if it was because it maybe matched more her vision of what she wrote.
You'd have to ask her. Matter of fact, she would have to be deposed.
Yeah, because I mean, there's the
But there's an easy way to determine that objectively. Just look at the novel. Like you yourself said, I mean, it mostly kind of matched, but there were differences.
no, but I mean, like compared to there's like the percentages of like they're comparing there the 83%, the 95 whatever percent, and
Yeah.
the writer is going with a lower score. Like I would think that she would like the higher score. So why is she going with the lower score? Is it because it matches more her book, even if it
Maybe
doesn't
because
please the viewers as much as she would like?
I'll put it this way: if you're in war and you have the option, and you're just the third party in between these two battling parties, and you have the choice, you're going to choose the winner. And in this case, Blake Lively's stature in Hollywood is much greater than Justin's. She had the power seemingly to try to erase him from this movie. And so for her career, it'd be a much better decision, I guess, to go with Lively. Perhaps.
Yeah, that could be.
It was a clear move. It's like, hey, Justin, sorry, kid, but sometimes you got to pick the winners. On June 6th, Baldoni is hospitalized for 3 days due to a spine infection. Here's evidence of that. On June 12th, Wayfair is informed that Lively told Sony that she will showing audiences that Book Bonanza her cut of the film, regardless of what Sony or Wayfair's approval. She later admitted on her panel at the event that the studio begged her not to show the film, but ultimately they didn't have the option to say no, as she brought the movie with her on the airplane. A video of this comment is available at the 48:32 mark. Should we check out this video? I'm going to check it out. 48:32.
48:32.
Pause. Here, let me share this with you folks. Present. Stop. Present. All right, let's see.
Like a disc, like a hard drive.
I love it. Yes.
No, yeah, it's and the other thing is I have the cutest jeans ever that I'm wearing tomorrow night. Also not sponsored. But they're really, really cute. And they've got flowers on them and they're cut out. And then Colleen saw my jeans and then she was inspired.
Did I miss it? She's on about jeans. Here, let me back up like
No, but what's the context? Like, I would need to watch this whole thing, like, to
I'm not
understand how we ended up in there.
All right, let's see.
Blake had to fight for you guys to get to see this early, so we want it to go
I literally
well.
brought the movie with me on the airplane. Like I have like a folder with like a disc, like a hard drive.
I love it. Yes.
No, yeah, it's and the other thing is I have the cutest jeans.
All right, the jeans. Well, I guess. She was presenting her version of it. So on June 14th, Colleen, Brandon, Isabella attend Book Bonanza. Wayfair has only made aware that Brandon and Isabella would be in attendance on that day. Sony later notified the Wayfair that it was Lively who reached out to Brandon and Isabella and paid for their travel and lodging. And look, they're all taking pictures together. And look at all of these fangirls. Jesus.
It's a pretty that writer has a pretty big following. So
Really? What is the appeal of reading those kinds of books?
I have no idea, but I follow a group on Facebook and I get recommendations, and she's one of the top ones that people like. I like them. I like they keep you interested, I guess, and at the same time,
Pretty much what it is.
what?
Is it just something to do?
No,
Like
not
when
necessarily. I find them entertaining. I don't know. I find them entertaining and not knowing what's going to happen, waiting for that twist, because that's what these books are all about. They're just interesting. So it's like you're asking somebody that loves watching crime documentaries to relax, like the reason behind it, and it's hard to explain to people that don't do it. So
anyway, so these text messages are Justin and the editors reacting to the news that Blake showed her cut of the movie. They are throwing it all back. They're showing it at Book Bonanza. The whole movie, yep, hers. Wow. Was supposed to be ours, and then I was uninvited. Whole thing is pretty cruel and intense. Unfucking believable. Ugh. Sorry, Justin. I love you both. Hearts. And so yeah, clearly they were not all in accord on that move. On June 17th, Lively makes the unilateral decision to bring on a new composer for the film. As a result, the original award-winning composer was let go, despite having already completed the score, which included costly orchestral arrangements. Even though Lively had absolutely no right to do this, neither Wayfair nor Sony were able to challenge Lively's decision, despite the significant financial implications. On June 18th, Sony marketing requests that Baldoni waive his film buy credit on the secondary poster so that only Lively's name would appear above the title. Fuck off, dude. Further, despite having already approved a poster for the film, it was understood by Wayfair that Lively would not approve this new version, in which Baldoni's name. How does she all of a sudden become so powerful on the set? Like, no, when did anybody give her like final editing approval rights? Like this started, she was an actress, and then she just keeps on demanding.
And she got there.
Well, she's going to claim it's extortion. They're going to claim it's extortion. It's not that she had those written into any agreement. It's just if we don't do this for her, she's going to not do certain things. It's going to help our film. So the acquiesce. That's coercive control. That's bullying. That's whatever. That's what they're going to call it. And she's just going to call it, hey, it's good business. I made recommendations and they went with it. What do you want from me?
Exactly.
Yeah.
They say yes.
I'm obviously the one most important to selling this film, so why wouldn't they take Baldoni's name off? Who the fuck is he? Put my name on it, and it's going to make everybody money. It was in the best interest for everybody. That's what she's going to say. Which really kind of sucks if you're Justin, you know? On June 18th, on the same day that Baldoni waives his film buy, he waived it? No way.
He did?
Sorry. On the same day that Baldoni waives his film buy credit, Wayfair also reluctantly agrees to give Lively a producer credit on the film.
She's pushy.
This was an ask that she took to Sony, despite it being a decision properly made by Wayfair. She was originally credited only as an executive producer. But both Wayfair and Sony no longer had the leverage to oppose her demands or the will to deal with the fallout if they were denied the credit at that point. Wayfair conceded and informed Sony, while also remarking that they would not be advocating for her getting the PGA mark, as that it is not applicable. Given Lively's contributions to the film, it was collectively agreed among the producers that she had not earned the distinction of the PGA mark. And I guess here's the email. I'm writing for Japan as I'm here on business. We have agreed to give Blake a producer credit on the film. She would not be getting the PGA mark, as that is not applicable. So on June 20th, shortly after granting Lively the producer credit, Heath was informed that Lively had reached out to Sony yet again, this time to ask that Baldoni and Heath write a letter on her behalf so that she may be considered to receive the PGA mark. Under what world would she think that them two would do her any of those kinds of favors? Both Justin and Jamie did not feel that her work warranted the PGA mark, a distinction highly valued and taken seriously within the industry. As Heath had already noted in his email on June 18th, they didn't feel it right to misrepresent her contributions in order for her to get a PGA mark. Heath had learned from Sony that Lively was extremely displeased with this response and told Sony that as a result of the men not submitting the letter, any goodwill left was now gone. This is a fascinating. It's fascinating watching this play out. The gloves are off. Okay, like they weren't already. Abel emails Sony's marketing team to inquire about a content shoot that Lively seemingly coordinated with maximum effort. Ryan Reynolds Production Company. Sony, at the time of the initial outreach by Abel, was not aware of the plans for the shoots. Later, Sony attested to the fact that that Lively and Maximum Effort were running the show. Abel was understandably concerned at the optics of the entire cast doing a content shoot without the director and co-lead being present. This would later be something that the public would take notice of, as well as heightened the rumors and negative press that Lively would take issue with. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit. I don't need to go through all of these emails. On June 25th, while contemplating the PGA letter, fearing that Lively was capable of, Jamey reaches out to Lively via text in order to humanize the situation. It had been months since Lively had spoken to Baldoni or Heath directly, as she insisted at each turn that she needed an intermediary, and this time was no different. So these are the texts. Hey Blake, I hope you're doing well. I wanted to write a note acknowledging the challenging times we all have found ourselves in. And now it has undoubtedly affected many decisions. One being the requested letter to the PGA. In the midst of it all, so many of the conversations haven't been had with third parties. I do understand why. However, I believe it could be helpful if you and I had a direct conversation in effort to find a path through this. We could have Blake and whomever else you'd like to join as well. Hopefully this can be an opportunity to simply consult, see if it could lead to a potential change of thought. Honestly, Blake, I'm reaching out with a spirit of optimism. Please let me know if you're open to having a Zoom today. Thanks. Hey, Jamey, feel free to send through anything you'd like to say here. I hope you're well. What a twat. I didn't want to say the C word, so I'll just say the T word.
Okay, they want to talk to them.
That is, man, that's like blood boiling. Say what you got to say here. I'm not going to read it anyway. Jamey, I think I would have responded like, I will send through my thoughts that you are a twat. How about that? Lots of love. Fuck off with your PGA request. But I'm childish. As a 44-year-old man, that would have been, well, I don't know if I would have sent that. I would have thought it, though. I'm sure he probably thought it. But instead, he thought better of it. And he says this: I respect your decision to not have a call. No problem. To be fully transparent, it was indeed a tough call to receive when asked to write a letter to the PGA. I do not believe you can understand to some extent why that might be. However, we do want to be fair-minded and just to all parties. The truth is, you are incredible. And the movie, oh, Jesus. This is the problem. It's been the problem for the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
Your performance is spectacular. And I hope that you get all the... Was she spectacular in the film, would you say?
No.
Greater acting performance.
I don't find her to be like this great actress. To me, she... Like, I can't really differentiate her acting in that movie from other
Real life?
like movies or series that I've seen her with. Like, it's the same type of acting. She just looks different because of the hair and all that.
She plays the same character in every movie, but basically what you're saying.
Same expressions. And so, I mean, she's okay.
But was she spectacular?
No.
Was she indispensable to the direction of the film? Or could we have just gotten Jenna Ortega and been done with it? With like 90% less of
Jenny
it.
Ortega. For some reason, you have mentioned her a couple of times already.
I was trying to find an act. Okay, so this is supposed to be a 23-year-old young lady that's supposed to... Why don't we just get an actual 23-year-old? Isn't Blake Lively like 37?
I know, but you know who it is.
I know, but Jenna Ortega is like an up-and-coming trying to make a name for herself.
She doesn't match the description in the book at all.
Fuck the description. Nothing match. Well, you know what? You know better than I.
Match her 100%, but she's more close to it than Jenna Ortega or Jenny.
I bet you if you would have asked her to dye her hair red, she would have. I bet you if you would have asked her to adhere to the original wardrobe, she would have.
She would look good with the red hair.
I don't know, man. But hey, it would have been less of a headache and probably just as big of a draw. I think more people know her because of the Wednesday thing than they knew Blake Lively. She seems to be the up and coming star that appeals to their requested demographic. I don't know. Anyway,
I find Jenna Ortega more innocent, I guess, in the work that she has done compared to what was needed in this movie. Like,
she's not innocent. For some reason I thought of this character as an innocent, wide-eyed, optimistic, young, aspiring person that falls in love and becomes the victim of whatever happens in the movie.
Well, yeah, she's a victim, but I don't know. I maybe it's because I see, to me, Jenny Ortega seems very a younger for her age.
But
the way
she's 23 though.
She's how old?
20. Well, I don't know how old she is. And she's closer to 23 than Blake.
No, I know, but she doesn't look 23 to me. To me, she looks like maybe, I don't know, 17, 18.
Oh, probably. But, most 23-year-olds look younger than they're babies,
I don't know. What I can tell you is that she doesn't fit the description of the book at all.
Right.
At all. No, not age-wise, physically, or anything like that. But at the same time, that's the great thing about books. Everybody has a different idea about how the character should look like based on the description of the writer. But I remember reading a discussion in Facebook in this group that I'm in about psychological thrillers. They always announce when there's a book being turned into a movie. And when it was announced that Blake Lively was given the role, I remember people making their suggestion as to who they would have thought would have made a better actress for to meet
this lady? Victoria Pedretti, whoever that is.
Let me see if it matches. What I can tell you is, although everybody had different ideas, they kind of resembled this. I don't know. There was a lot that people saw that it was the same, although it might not have been like. Yes, definitely Victoria Pedretti. That's somebody that I think would have matched rather hair. Yes.
Where have I seen this lady from? I swear I've seen her before.
She is in You.
Oh, that's where she. Yeah. I've seen it below. She was in that show that my wife used to make me watch. Yeah. I couldn't watch it past the first couple seasons. It got really stupid really fast.
But yeah.
All right. So this is his snarky response. The truth is, you're incredibly. The spectacular thing. No denying that. With that said, I have consulted further with Justin, and as a result, he and I have both agreed to write the letter. So please, they agreed to write the letter. Please let me know to whom we should send. Get out of here. Wow. I'm just so disappointed in everybody. Nobody's got a backbone over here. I will continue to respect the process of communication through your designated reps, but I felt compelled to reach out directly for this. And she just says, thanks, Jamie. Appreciate you both acknowledging the work. You can send the letters to me here or via email. It would have been really funny if when they sent her the letter, that it was just a picture of a middle finger flipping her off.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like that's what should have happened.
No, I mean, it was clear she didn't want to be on the call. And it was like, how do I say this nicely? Just email me.
I would not be able to deal with that level of disrespect.
You find it disrespectful?
The way that she's treated, from the entire time with her demands.
Oh, no, of course. The entire time, that email in specific.
Yeah. This email, yes, because I feel like it's them trying to reach out to her and find some common ground. She's like, fuck you. Write my letter, bitch. And then they do. It's like, what are you doing? Okay. All right. On June 26th, after many conversations and once again feeling trapped, Baldoni and Heath write a letter of recommendation to the PGA on behalf of Lively. Send a copy to Lively. They submit to the PGA. Heath simultaneously wrote a letter to his attorneys writing the extortion by Lively. And here's the letter. So we hope this letter finds you well. We are writing to inform you with the significant role and contributions that Blake Lively has played in the making of the film It Ends With Us, based on the best-selling novel by Colleen Hoover. This film has meant a great deal, both personally to our company, Wayfair Studios, as we optioned the property nearly 5 years ago. As such, we've been directly involved in overseeing every step of development. From the time Blake was brought on, she has had an instrumental voice in many different aspects in the making of the film. Her contributions have been impactful, and she has consulted with many of the casting options. She helped to refine the script. She redesigned her own wardrobe, as well as gave notes to others. Blake has been very involved. Since contractually she began the movie with an EP credit, our earlier submission to the PGA did not include her, but we both feel her contributions are warranted. Okay, this is the letter that sent her.
Okay.
And then Jamie says, I'm writing to you all regarding a letter that I wrote on behalf of Justin and myself addressed to the Producers Guild. As you know, we received a request to write a recommendation on behalf of Blake. This was a request that we feel was unreasonable and cold-hearted. Essentially, the movie has been taken unjustly from Justin as a director and essentially from Wayfair's control due to the extortion of Blake. Then why did they fucking write the letter then?
I know.
This is just such like bitch-made behavior. Could I say that without getting canceled? It's just, they call to get her on the phone. She tells them to fuck off politely, write my letter. Then they write the letter. Then they send her the letter. And then they say, hey, just so y'all know, just kidding, we were extorted. It was against our will. It's just, what? I don't understand it. Make it make sense to me, Ileana.
I don't know. Maybe they realized they will be in legal troubles because of what they did. I have no idea. It just doesn't. It doesn't make sense.
Just so y'all know, the crow wishes you all to lick the like button. Kind of gross. Don't lick it. Could just press the button. Would be enough. Don't lick your keyboard. That's gross. All right. Where did all this go? Here it is. All right. So Heath, the CEO of Wayfair, expressed to Forbes on June 28th his high hopes for the film. The article will be released. I hope that people leave the theater feeling inspired, and he says stuff. All right. So June 28th, Lively and Reynolds Company Maximum Effort organized a content shoot for the film's promotional campaign with the entire cast and author of the book. Content shoot included the cast making flower arrangements, baking cookies, playing Pictionary. When's the last time you played Pictionary? Collage making, other concepts developed by the Maximum Effort team in support of the film's promotion. They later posed for seemingly staged paparazzi photos before having dinner together. These are the pictures.
Okay.
Wait, who's this guy? Who are these people?
Those are other characters in the movie or the book. The girl is supposed to be Baldoni's.
Is this Ryan Reynolds?
I think it is. Where?
Is this Ryan Reynolds, her husband?
No, that's the guy that does the Atlas, the ex of Blake Lively's character. So that's another actor in the movie.
Another actor. Okay.
They're just other actors, and the other guy is the husband of the sister.
Is Ryan Reynolds anywhere in these pictures?
No.
Okay. July 1st. By July 24, Baldoni was completely locked out of the film's final cut by virtue of his role in Wayfair. He was permitted to give notes as a studio. Despite his personal feelings, he redirected his thoughts to focus on one positive. The film, years in the making, was very close to being seen by the world, even if it was no longer his film. I would not stand for that. That was like his Rocky Balboa moment, you know, when Rocky set out to film his movie, Rocky. Sylvester Stallone. And he refused to relinquish control to anybody. He was going to be a writer, producer, and he was acting in it. And he did. It was 1976. And he turned into an A-lister for the next, to present day, really. Baldoni's having that stolen from him, ripped out of his hands, because he doesn't have a backbone. And it's kind of heartbreaking to watch, honestly. If I'm believing all of this evidence and there's nothing to counter all of this, I'm trying to keep in mind that this is a one-sided account. I'm not hearing Blake's side. I read her pleadings. I read his complaint, and now I'm reading this amending complaint in this timeline. So I'm trying to stay objective. I'm just saying that it's heartbreaking to watch this guy have this opportunity, go through all his hard work, and watch him at every stage relinquish little by little complete and complete and total control of the film. So, what are these? Oh, what a beautiful baby made together. Excuse me. The film's original editors informed Baldoni that the last they heard, she was putting back a fair amount of Baldoni's version into the final cut. I guess they inform of that. I'm going to get some water real quick. Give me 1 second.
Go ahead.
Okay. So on July 2nd, on a Zoom video conference between Wayfarer and Sony marketing, Wayfarer learned that Sony had been dealing with extensive notes and revisions to the marketing plan as a result of the content shoot, because Sony ended up hiring Reynolds' company, Maximum Effort, to produce the promotional content for the film. The cost for the shoot significantly increased due to their fee being higher than what Sony had originally budgeted. Despite ultimately approving this, Wayfarer was told that Sony was not allowed to direct access to the footage. This shoot included the cast baking cookies, floral arrangements, stuff. All right, more acquiescence is what I'm getting. On July 10th, whilst dealing with the Baldoni's mounting PR headaches, Baldoni's publicist Jennifer Abel was also dealing with a difficult working relationship with her employer, Stephanie Jones. The tension between Jones and Abel reached a tipping point when Jones, whose behavior had become increasingly erratic and hostile, demanded Abel corroborate falsified accusations about a senior JonesWorks employee in an effort to drive him out. When Abel refused to go along with it, Jones responded with mockery, calling her a 12-year-old drama queen, and as a result, on July 10th, Abel notifies Jones of her decision to depart from JonesWorks and intention to start her own business. What's going on?
It's like sidelines.
Well, what is this? Okay. Here's Stephanie. Here's Jennifer. Creating hostility. Okay. Email from Jennifer to Stephanie. Per my call right now, Stephanie, I want to thank everyone for the incredible support. Okay. So July 11th, in anticipation of an in-person interview with a national publication that requested to follow him for a day in the life piece, Baldoni reaches out to the post-production house working on It Ends With Us to find a time for him to come in for a few minutes and do a mock coloring session. At the time, the coloring was nearly complete. This was all done in an effort to promote the film and, of course, highlight Baldoni as its director. However, when Lively was informed of this fake coloring session, she was incensed, demands that Sony intervene, stop the interview. Stuff. On July 15th, Wayfarer is informed that Reynolds contacts Baldoni's personal agent at WME. During the call, Reynolds escalates his attack on Baldoni's character, calling him a deranged predator. This just doesn't track. Something's missing. Why is Reynolds so have this guy in his crosshairs?
I don't know, Ryan.
What do you think is going on here?
I think Ryan Reynolds is very controlling from what I've heard, but I don't know why he is involved in all this.
You really don't like Justin Baldoni. I'll say that. Well, all right, so Baldoni's agent relays to Wayfarer that he did his best to reason with Reynolds, challenged the absurd claims. Reynolds was unwilling to consider any counter-narrative. Reynolds reiterated that Baldoni should not attend the premiere on August 6th, stating that no one wants him there. When Baldoni's agent shares this conversation with Baldoni and Heath, both are disturbed by Reynolds' continued efforts to damage Baldoni's reputation within the agency. So, what I am speculating without evidence is I think there was a point in time where Ryan Reynolds probably had some underlying jealousy of Baldoni. that Lively was very friendly and flirty with Justin in the very beginning. Maybe he caught an inkling of that. Maybe through intuition, he realized what was going on and had an incendiary reaction to it internally and has lashed out, used every opportunity to lash out at Justin ever since, and is using his position of influence in Hollywood to erase him from the film. I don't think it doesn't make any sense that this would be coming only from Blake Lively. It only makes sense if I know that Ryan Reynolds in the background is in Lively's ear, forcing her to use her influence in conjunction with his company to erase him from the film. What do you think of that?
I don't know. It could be. I mean, the way that I see Ryan Reynolds like being involved in all this is either he was really jealous, like you said, and like your version of what was going on, or he was really upset at what was going on and he was being like the very protective husband. But I don't know. At the same time, I'm leaning a little bit more towards your version because his reaction seems a little bit petty,
Yeah,
rather
true
than
with
protective.
right?
But I don't.
Well, for example, like the first time he came at Justin sideways was because he asked her how much she weighed, because Justin had to lift her up and he had a back injury. He's like, hey, Justine, how much do you weigh? She found it as rude. And then Reynolds, days later, flips the fuck out. It's like, how dare you ask my wife how much she weighs? Which is not something you would normally ever get upset about
Mhm.
unless you had some underlying angst or anger or rage
Or
lined up,
insecurity.
or insecurities lined up against that person. And so that's why I'm going with the jealousy angle. And that him, Reynolds, being in Lively's ear, influencing how she treats Justin and forcing her hand at trying to erase his contributions to the film. That's my speculation. But anyway, July 17th, Baldoni attends Lily Bloom's pop-up shop at Westfield Century City to promote the film. Moreover, Baldoni is dealing with Ryan Reynolds calling Baldoni's agent and saying what a horrible person Justin is. Why don't they just box it out, man? Let's just put on the gloves. What, you got something to say? Let's just put on the gloves. Let's just work it out in the ring. What is this shit? Who is this lady? Is this who are these people? Is this Blake? Well, they're
they're blurred, so I don't know. Is that
Blake?
Justin in the middle?
Is this Justin?
I mean, I can't see because he has a hat and it's a very small picture, but I mean, it looks like him.
Yeah.
From afar, and that's Blake on the left, on the bottom with the like wine red looking dress, and I can't really recall who those other two people are.
Well, I'm certainly not gonna know who they are. Is this Taylor Swift? It kind of looks like Taylor Swift, though, doesn't it?
No, I don't think so.
Well, it says Lively, Reynolds, and other members of the film's cast attend the premiere.
Okay.
Oh, they're from a different movie, Deadpool and Wolverine. This is the after party. Yeah, Wayfair warned that Reynolds approached a senior executive at WME and expressed his deep disdain for Baldoni, going so far as to suggest that the agency is working with a sexual predator. Where's the proof of this, though? Is this just somebody's narrative? Because now we're getting out of the realm of evidence, and now they're just saying shit. So I'm not disbelieving. I'm just saying in the other allegations, they had evidence tied to these paragraphs. Now we're not doing that anymore. On July 23rd, Sony informs Wayfair, the studio financing the premiere and most of the film, that Lively had demanded that Baldoni, Heath, and Wayfair refrain from attending the premiere and threatens a cast-wide boycott if they do. The next day, mindful of the potential premiere boycott and not knowing what Lively and Reynolds were planning to do if Baldoni and team attended, Abel emails the Wayfair team requesting Lively's November legal letter, correctly assuming that Lively would try to use the letter against Wayfair. With the letter in hand, Abel intends to draft context for each issue to ensure the team, and this is exhausting. What are we on about? To reiterate our strategy, we should not do anything proactive that could light our own fire unnecessarily. So they're still operating under these demands. On July 24th, later that morning, at Wayfarer's request, Abel contacts Jones for crisis PR firm recommendations to represent Baldoni. Wayfarer receives several crisis PR recommendations, including Melissa Nathan, a veteran in the field. Abel, having previously worked with Nathan, endorses her based on her strong professional relationship. Wayfarer meets with Nathan and her firm. Thanks so much for taking the time. As promised, please keep our attached scope of work, which details our overall approach. Okay. This is the PR group and their instructions, I guess. Their fees, $15,000 a month. You want to hire a PR firm, Ileana, for your law firm? $15,000 a month.
Thank you.
For 3 months, and they will make it look to the world as if you were the world's greatest attorney. It's a move. All right, so July 26th, upon learning that Wayfarer was considering working with Melissa Nathan, Stephanie Jones, seeing her as competition, began pressuring Abel to intervene and tell Wayfarer that she was shady. Abel refused to do so, which only made Jones more irritated. On July 26th, after extensive consultation and frustration over Reynolds and Lively's ongoing threats, Justin and Heath informed Sony and Wayfarer that Wayfarer will attend its own premiere. Given Lively's heavy promotion of the film, the likelihood of her boycotting seemed low, and her leverage appeared to be weakening as the event neared, or so they thought. However, Justin remained deeply anxious, fearing potential retaliation from Lively and Reynolds simply for attending his own premiere. That same day, an article surfaces about another director facing allegations of inappropriate on-set behavior. Baldoni forwarded the link to Abel, adding his own remarks. This is the shit I'm sure they want to do. Unnamed sources, etc. Video of Francis Ford Coppola kissing Megalopolis extras surfaces his crew. Amid the turmoil surrounding Baldoni and over 2 weeks after submitting her resignation, Abel emails Jones to express gratitude and assure her of no ill will. However, she remained resolute in her decision to leave Jones Works. Right? Sony and senior marketing execs inform Heath and Abel that Lively has demanded Baldoni conduct his junket interviews on a different day than hers, further ostracizing Baldoni. Abel pushes back, arguing that this is going to signal to the press that something was wrong. Ultimately, Abel is able to find a compromise. They agree Baldoni would conduct his interviews separately from the rest of the cast at a different hotel, but on the same day. Social media detectives begin to notice Baldoni's absence from the promotional content. You remember this?
No, like I remember like people commenting on it, as the like the posters and stuff were coming out, like where is he?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
On August 2nd, recognizing the extreme measures Lively and Reynolds were taking to undermine Baldoni, excluding him from the premiere and press tour, spreading negative rumors within his agency, isolating him from cast events and promotions, engaging in strong-arm tactics to take control of the film, Baldoni and Heath decided to retain Nathan and Tag. Baldoni and Heath did so after Abel learned from Nathan that a negative story was being circulated among media contacts, labeling Baldoni's religion as a cult, accusing him of fat-shaming Lively because he recommended a personal trainer. In response, Tag prepared a scenario planning document with rapid response strategies. To the extent that Baldoni is claiming that he's been defamed by Lively and others, slandered by Lively and others, what would you say regarding these facts? Does this amount to that yet, based on what we know?
Wait, ask again, because from Blake to Baldoni?
Assuming that these allegations are true,
Okay.
her husband is going around calling him a sexual predator. She's
Mhm.
going out of his way to ostracize him from events related to promote the film.
Mhm.
And now there's accusations of fat shaming.
Mhm.
Does this have the tenor of defamation or slander or the like?
I think it could, given his level of like how famous. Well, he's not super famous, but I mean, this could, like you said earlier, it could potentially cancel him if it's being circulated around, I don't know, the people that watch these movies and shows.
Well, he's relinquished certain writing credits that would have been attributed to him. And
Mhm.
they're going around talking to people within the industry who are movers and shakers
Mhm.
that have the influence to employ him again in the future, that he's a sexual predator.
Mhm.
I think that we're getting there,
Yeah.
provided that they can prove it. So
That it
here's a
was
chart.
true.
Yeah, I'm not.
If it was true, then
I mean, well, yeah. I mean, truth, yeah, the ultimate defense, right? But how are they going to prove that it was true? How are we going to prove that it was false?
we'll have to see if they ever go to
Despite
trial.
all of this evidence, we need more evidence. Is
Yes.
what I was saying. I really can't wait for the depositions. All these comments. So August 4th, Abel and Nathan commiserate about the situation, with Abel jokingly suggesting that they plant negative pieces about Lively. Jokingly suggesting that they plant negative pieces about Lively. So they're not denying that it happened. They're just saying that it was a big joke. While Nathan understands Abel's comments are lighthearted, he responds seriously, advising they wait to see how the next few days unfold and stay vigilant. Nathan also notes being aware of a story from Lively's camp intended to hurt Baldoni's reputation. Both agree to just stay alert, avoid taking any hasty actions. Here's text messages back and forth. So on August 5th, Baldoni's first full day of press began before 6 a.m. Later that morning, he shared a link with Abel to an article on celebrity bullying that had appeared on his Twitter feed. Given the circumstance that Baldoni had found himself in, the article's timing resonated with him, as he was understandably feeling bullied. So he took a screenshot and sent it to Abel. And here's the screenshot. That evening, unbeknownst to Baldoni and Wayfair, Lively and the rest of the cast attend a meta screening of the film at the Roxy Hotel. The event includes a Q&A session with Colleen and the cast, with everyone except Baldoni. This exclusion further highlights Baldoni's deliberate sidelining. Fans and journalists quickly noticed that the absence of the film's director and co-lead, sparking online chatter, fueling rumors about tensions behind the scenes. The incident underscores the growing divide and continuing efforts to exclude Baldoni from the film's production. On August 6th, at the premiere in New York, Baldoni is instructed to walk the carpet separately from the rest of the cast. However, he is quickly ushered off the press line when it is announced that Lively is on her way. Once inside the theater lobby, security escorts Baldoni and his family to the basement to prevent a potential encounter. Lively and the cast. They are then taken to a basement stockroom for holding, while Lively, Reynolds, and the rest of the cast walk the pink carpet. After the lobby clears, Baldoni, Heath, and their friends and family are ushered to a small theater at the end of the hallway or a separate screening. Does this intentional separation between the two constitute malfeasance on their part, supporting their claims? What do you say?
Sorry, I was not paying attention to the, because I had a
God damn it, Eliana.
coming in from work, from my
No.
work cell phone. So sorry.
I'll answer my own question. I'm not sure. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure. I need more evidence. Articles about a potential cast feud begin circulating online. Here's the articles. They're talking about it. More text messages on August 8th. Online chatter escalates and cast tensions become the headline across major publications. More articles and stuff. Emails. So on August 8th, Nathan and Lively's publicist, Leslie Sloan, reached an agreement whereby neither will communicate directly with a reporter prior to informing the other. Nathan states, "I'm not doing one thing without speaking to you." To which Sloan responds, "Me either." Just 9 minutes later, Sloan breaches her agreement with Nathan by engaging with a reporter at the Daily Mail. Sloan actively continues her discussions with the Daily Mail reporter, feeding false information to cast Baldoni in a negative light. So, I think I don't know. How much time do you got left, Ileana?
Not much.
I think I'm going to have to wrap this up. I'm going to have to make a part 4, I think. There's like another 50 pages to go.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I think the next 50 pages are going to highlight more of the smear campaign evidence that I've been waiting to get into. So we're gonna pause on that. We'll get into that on part 4. What is this? Part 3? 1, 2, 3, 4. Gosh.
Yes, you said that it was part 3. So
Yeah. Well, so far, I'll tell you what. I have a lot of questions for Blake. I'm not prepared to make final assessments of the causes of action. I'm just going to say that, yeah, you could label Lively's behavior as bullying. There's a lot more going on behind the scenes, I think. She certainly has things to answer for. But I cannot get over how spineless, not just the Sony execs, not just Wayfair, not just Baldoni, but all of them in the aggregate have been in dealing with the entire situation, constantly acquiescing. Just this snowball of letting her get away with whatever she wants to do. It's caused these issues to the point where they're going to argue that every single time that Lively makes demands, they would acquiesce, and they can't say that, you know, she was forcing their hand when they're constantly praising her work and her valuable contributions to the film, and then come and turn around and say that, oh, well, she was making us. No, you were doing that because Lively's work was outstanding. Like you said, repeatedly. That's what Lively's going to say. They're going to say that our hands were forced. She was threatening not to do things. She was threatening to breach the contract. Anyway, we're going to get into the remaining 50 pages of evidence. Maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow morning. I don't know. But I'm going to finish it at some point. I'm in the closing stretches of it all. But before my voice goes completely, I'm going to sign off. Ileana, thank you so much for joining me for 2 hours and 17 minutes to deal with this bullshit and for your super lawyer opinions. I have your schedule. We're going to do this again real soon.
yes.
Whether or not we're talking about this case or something else, we'll plan that out later. But thanks for joining me. For all the rest of you folks, love you all. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.